Without further ado, I want to jump into this message. We've been talking about that you're stronger than you think you are, right? It's been an empowering message, an empowering series, and I have so much more to share. And I was like trying to condense it, saying, okay, this is supposed to be the last week of this. God, how do I, reel this all in, bring this all together? Because there's just so many opportunities out there to tell people how strong they truly are. So last week when we talked about, the first week we talked about having strength to not to slip. We talked about temptation and the struggles of temptation and how the Lord always makes a way of escape. And then last week we talked about the strength, how to bounce back pretty much after a fall. We talked about Samson and we had a good time there. And we also said that we know that sin will find you, sin will blind you, and sin will bind you. But we also heard some really good news, and that's that sin does not have to define you. And so I'm here to tell you that it doesn't matter what you've gone through, what you've experienced, how high the highs have been, how low the lows have been, that sin does not have to define you. But we do realize that sin is out there on the hunt. We read scriptures that talk about how the sin is crouching at the door, Numbers 32:23 told us that, but if you fail to do this, you'll be sinning against the Lord, and you may be sure that your sin will find you out. And we read all these scriptures, right? We had a great time talking about the contents versus the container. The container is this vessel that we're in, but we want to deal with the contents that is going inside of the container. So we talked about the prodigal son. We talked about Rahab, who was a prostitute, and all these people who were in situations where their container did not look ideal, but the contents that was deposited on the inside, that they got an excellent result based off of that. And so we were excited. We shouted, we celebrated, and last week was phenomenal. After we did the benediction, we stayed here for almost another hour. For y'all who left, we stayed here for almost another hour here, worshiping at the altar, praise and worship. And so I was humbled by the amount of people who just stayed here saying, I'm not ready to leave yet. I wasn't ready to leave yet either. And so we stayed there until we all left together an hour after the benediction. But we had a great time last week. And so again, just kind of catch you up again, we said sin will find you, it will blind you or bind you, but it does not have to define you. So I talked about, again, the strength after a stumble when we talked about temptation. We talked about the strength after a fall. And today I want to tell you about the strength to stand. So we talked about how to make sure that when we stumble, and how to deal with that. We talked about if we fall and we make mistakes, which we all have fallen, we all fall short, and we talked about how to bounce back from that. And the great news about Samson, it says that even after Samson's hair was completely cut off, we found out that his hair grew back. And I told you all that if you don't go back, you can grow back. That's what we learned last week. If you don't go back, you can grow back. And I want to tell somebody that today, that if you don't look back at all the things in your past, and you decide to make a conscious effort to go forward to things of God, that you can grow back. You can achieve all the things that you thought were no longer possible. Things can get better. Your relationship can be restored. You can go to higher heights and higher levels if you don't go back. We talked about that last week. But today I want to talk about having the strength to stand. So it's one thing to know how not to stumble. It's another thing to know how to get up after a fall. But after all that's done, then what? What do we do now? If you open up in your Bibles, if you don't have it, it'll be on the screen behind me. But if you open up to Deuteronomy chapter 11, starting with verse 1, and I'm reading out of the NIV. We have it on the screen. But it says that, love the Lord your God and keep his requirements, his decrees, his laws, and his commands always. Verse 2 says, remember today that your children were not the ones who saw and experienced the discipline of the Lord your God, his majesty, his mighty hand, his outstretched arm. Verse 3 says, the signs he performed and the things he did in the heart of Egypt, both Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and to the whole country. Verse 4 says, what he did to the Egyptian army, to its horses and chariots, how he overwhelmed them with the waters of the Red Sea, as they were pursuing you. As they were pursuing you. And how the Lord brought lasting ruin on them. Verse 5 says, it was not your children who saw what he did for you in the wilderness until you arrived at this place, and what he did to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, the Reubenite, and when the earth opened its mouth right in the middle of all Israel and swallowed them up with their households, their tents, and everything living that belonged to them. Verse 7 says, but it was your own eyes that saw all these great things that the Lord has done. Verse 8 says, observe therefore all the commands I am giving you today, so that you may have the strength to go in and to take over, the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess. Verse 9. What does verse 9 say? Verse 9 says, and so that you may live long in the land that the Lord swore to you, your forefathers, to give to them and their descendants, a land flowing with milk and honey. Next verse. We'll stop right here for a second. The land you are entering to take over is not like the land of Egypt from which you have come. So we're going places that are not like the places that we came from. So we're here in church talking about raising believers a level of greatness. And when you raise believers a level of greatness, sometimes when you do it, it's going to change your surroundings. And many times our surroundings have to change. And so when you're getting here, you're getting to an unfamiliar place saying, this doesn't look familiar. God saying, because that's the new territory that I'm giving you for to possess. But in order to possess, you have to realize that it's not going to look like what it used to look like. You have to be willing to stand somewhere that looks unfamiliar. You have to be able to stand in places that are uncertain to you. You have to be able to stand in places where, like I said, are not familiar to you at all. See, right here, Moses was speaking about loving and obeying the Lord. He said a lot of really good things that I will touch on. But when we talk about having the strength to stand, the first thing that I'm going to tell you is that everyone will not know why you are standing. But you must stand. They won't know why you're standing, but you must stand. Verse 2 of that chapter said, remember today that your children were not the ones who saw and experienced the discipline of the Lord your God, His majesty, His mighty hand, His outstretched arm. So he was talking to them because they had to go somewhere and lead people who have never seen what they saw.
All right.
So they're having to stand on something with people who have no experience standing in that area. That's why you tell people, well, you don't know my experience. You don't know why I do what I do. You don't know what it took to get me here. You don't know why I praise the Lord like I praise the Lord. You don't know why tears come down my eyes. You don't know why I stand here and say that if it had not been God on my side, because many times people don't understand why you're standing, but your job is to stand. Though it does not make sense to them, but they may have not had the same experience that you've experienced. It's all about experience in life. Life can be a cruel teacher. But many times we try to have conversation with people about experiences and things that they've never experienced. We wonder why they can't understand, and we get frustrated. We start questioning where we're standing. God, I know that you called me here, but the thing is, you're talking to the wrong people because they don't have the experience. I had a conversation with my 7-year-old, one of my 7-year-old twin sons, and the news was on. He came in and he said, oh, the news is so depressing. I don't like watching the news, this and that. And so I thought, okay, God, there's an opportunity for me to talk to my son. So I was telling him about how, people, there's good people, there's bad people. People do things and make mistakes and all this stuff. And we're having a conversation, about that. And he said, well, I don't understand why they're doing this. And this person did this, and this person killed this person. I said, I know the news is depressing. And so we're having a conversation. I thought we were connected. He said, you know what I would do if I was them? He's like, I would call the Ninja Turtles, because the Ninja Turtles could take over all these bad guys. Then I realized I was trying to have a conversation with somebody who don't have the same level of experience that I have. Now that's funny in the natural, but in the spirit we're the same exact way. We try to have conversation with somebody about a spiritual God in their fleshly mind. And we're trying to say, you don't understand what God is doing. You understand that? How can you believe God? How can you stand where you stand? How can you say, God, you will deliver me when things don't look right? And they're saying, well, I don't see it, and you should try this, or you should try that, or you should stay at home. You say, well, you don't understand. Because you have not had the experience. But I'm telling you that where God wants to take you, there's other people who have to be surrounded by you that have the experience that you are going towards. They can't understand because they've not experienced it. We talk about all the time in church, when you know better, you can do better. Right? And so he specifically kept on telling them that I'm talking to you because your children have not experienced this. I'm telling you what to do because the people who are following you, they don't know, they've never seen. You have to show them why they should trust God. You have to show them what trusting God looks like. You can't just talk a good game because they've never You have to show them. That's why I'm saying they don't know. I'm not holding them accountable because they don't know. You know because you were there, you saw it.
Yeah.
So my question is, even after seeing everything that he's done, why is it that so many times we don't meditate on that, on what he has done? You have to show them why they cannot quit. Why you have to model the behavior. See, we live in a society today that is a byproduct of lack of commitment.
Amen. Amen.
It's so easy to quit every area of your life. It's so easy to quit.
Yeah.
You don't like your cell phone provider, don't worry, the next month they'll pay your fees, they'll give your cancellation fees, they'll give you a brand new phone, don't worry about it. You don't like your cable company, you can change your cable company. You don't like your job, so you're going to change your job. You don't like what you're doing right now, so I'm going to do something different. And many times in the spirit, that's why there's just a spirit of quitting and lack of commitment that has infiltrated the church, because we're not used to standing. A stand is a commitment, it's a choice to stand. And standing is not predicated on the weather being good or not having trials or not having tribulation. Stand is a commitment that God's saying, I require you to stand. Good times, bad times, undecided times, I require you to stand. But we have a society where they made it so easy to quit. You don't want to be married, that's all right, cool. Don't worry about it. You don't have to be married. You don't want to be in a relationship, cool, don't worry about it. You can find somebody else. Things you have to choose to stand. Especially if you're surrounded by people who don't have the same experience that you have. Because people will emulate what you demonstrate.